So what is TUT training principle? What does it mean? How do you do it? Where does it come from? I'm going to break this on down for you. This is what I do every day. So, TUT training, TUT, TUL, 𝐊𝐞𝐲𝐰𝐸, who teaches the time under load training, is where I got the time and attention training from. So the way this works is, the idea behind this is to keep the muscle loaded the entire time under tension for as long as possible until the muscle basically gives up and the form starts to break down. So the way this works is you don't want to lock out the joints, because that's kind of arresting. Soon that joint is locked out, at full extension on a shoulder press, or even like a row, or even a lat pull down, that muscle is no longer engaged. The purpose for this is to maximize the amount of tension on that muscle until it fails positively. So in other words, positive failure. So if I'm doing a shoulder press and I'm pressing overhead at a 5-5 tempo, when I no longer go from down to up, which is positive, we call it concentric, when I no longer do that, that set is over. And when I say it's over, I mean it's over. If you're pushing mentally, physically to the absolute last rep, then that exercise is done. We move on to another exercise. But the main focus of this is not lock at the joints. Always keep a slight bend at the joint. Again, constant tension, form guidelines, basic form is going to be the most important. Always, if you start to break down, say for instance, if I'm doing a squat, and I'm working till absolute failure. Now, absolute failure for a squat is a little more complicated, because if you go to absolute failure, then the bar is going to be on top of your head. So when I teach the squat, usually if I do a barbell, I'll either have them, spot them, and have someone else who's doing something else, or the easiest way to do it would be on a leg press machine. Now, if you don't have a leg press machine, then the safest way would be to use dumbbells. And on the suitcase dumbbells, or you do a goblet squat, it doesn't really matter which one you want to use. Just make sure they go to positive failure where they no longer can at least do a good rep where the knees are not coming in. Because if you go past that point, now you're basically setting yourself up for not just the wrong kind of failure, but also injury for your client, which you don't want that, because then that means you won't get paid. So you don't want to hurt the client. You never try to hurt with TUT training and any other training. Was a proper belief, you're not always working out to be sore. The only way you get sore is through adaptation. So say if I happen to run and I ran a long time, I'm going to be probably sore for a couple of days. That's adaptation. So when you take a client from, say they're doing consistently 12 to 15 reps with a certain weight, and they don't really feel like they're getting sore, but they're working hard and they're still going to positive failure, they may not be sore. They may have awareness that they did something, but they may not be sore. But the moment you change the load with a different weight, even it's up to like 2 to 5 pounds more, and they push, say they do maybe, they possibly would be sore only because the adaptation. That's the only reason. So we're not really working out to be sore. We're working out for strength and continual strength or consistent strength throughout a time. One thing about this too, bear in mind, when you're doing semi-private training, this is not a linear path for anyone. So just because, say, Debbie and John are doing similar weight, John may take off and do more reps with his weight 1 week and continue to grow. Debbie, on the other hand, may not. Again, it's not a linear path based on your genetics, based on your recovery, based on your nutrition, So it's good to explain that to your clients too, that this path is not linear for everyone. Because you'll find that a lot of clients get in this thing about compare themselves to the person they're working out with or somebody on some kind of channel or something like that. It doesn't work that way. It's never worked that way, it never will be that way. So make sure you explain all these things to your client. That way they have an understanding from the beginning what to expect. Because if they don't, they fall in this thing about, they're hard on themselves than they need to be. But if they had the right understanding, they will understand this process takes time, but it also is not linear. So make sure you explain that to them prior to starting the program. Set the expectation. Okay, stopping failure. Yes, so we just talked about this. So when that form breaks down, then it's time to stop. Can't maintain tempo, it's time to stop. Form starts to break down, time to stop. Inability to move the weight, it's time to stop. Recovery, I just mentioned that a few minutes ago. Recovery is what you do when you're not in the gym, which means sleep, which means eating well, which means trying to relieve any kind of additional stress. That is going to be very important for recovery, to make sure when you get in the gym the next day that you're going to do as well or better, right? Consistency. So applying the TUT training principles. Here are the guidelines, paying attention to progress, indicators, you can ensure effective, safe workouts. Covered all that. Stop technical failure, very important to avoid injury. So that is the TUT principle training method. It's used as TUL, TUT. We teach TUT just like it. That is the proper way to do it. 72 hours for recovery. So then I just saw this now, so I forgot about that part. So when you do, say Betty's going to come in on Monday, and she's doing twice a week. I will have Betty on Monday, and I will schedule Betty again for another workout like the one she just did till Friday. So I have ample time to get full recovery, and I try to keep that consistent as possible. And that way, there's no burnout. There's usually very little plateau, maybe a little bit, based on where they slept, that kind of thing, but that's how many days apart. And as far as the training part of it, think about how many people you get in there that's not the same person. If you're doing a two person in each session, and you got one person that come once a week, somebody coming twice. I have people coming once a week. If they have a really busy schedule and they're doing like weekend warrior kind of stuff, one time a week they will see significant difference in their strength because now they have proper time to recover. If you start adding to an already stacked load like you used to do back in the day, like in the military, so oh, you can't do a pull-up anymore. Well, keep doing it till you get better at it. I mean, that may work for some people, but most time, you can't get better because you're not recovering fast enough. You're fatigued. You can't do it in a fatigued state. Some people mentally can push themselves. Performance not best, and they probably injure themselves down the road. Maybe not that moment. We're not trying to injure our clients. We're trying to make them better, feel better, get stronger, without any kind of tears or breakdowns or bones breaks or ligaments and tendon tears. Because again, that affects your pocket, and it's not a good representation for you, or a good representation for your gym. All right, so that's the TUT training.